The Galactic Empire had existed for thousands of years. It was the oldest and strongest power in the Milky Way. Hundreds of alien species lived under its flag, and thousands of planets paid tribute to it. The Empire controlled trade, knowledge, and peace across the stars. But one day, a discovery changed everything. At the edge of the Orion Arm, far from the center of the galaxy, a small blue planet was found by an Imperial exploration ship. From space it looked peaceful, a world covered in water, green land, and white clouds. The report said it was home to an intelligent species called humans. At first, the discovery caused great excitement. Many believed this young race would be easy to guide and bring into the Empire. "Another new species for the Council," said one of the ministers proudly. "We will teach them our ways and they will serve us well." But not everyone shared the same excitement. In the deep corners of the galaxy, among the old and hidden species, strange messages began to spread. They warned the Empire to stay away from Earth. One message said, "Do not approach the humans. They are dangerous beyond understanding." The High Council met to discuss this. The chamber was filled with leaders of many alien races, some tall and shining like crystal, others small and covered in fur. The Emperor himself sat on a golden chair, his eyes calm but curious. "Who sent these messages?" he asked. An old advisor bowed and said, "The messages came from the Eldari, the oldest known civilization still alive. They never interfere in galactic affairs, but this time they warned us directly." The room went silent. The Eldari were mysterious, wise, and ancient. If they warned of danger, it was taken seriously. Still, another council member laughed softly. "Danger from a single planet? Their technology is primitive. They haven't even mastered faster-than-light travel. What could they possibly do to us?" The Emperor nodded slowly. "We will not act out of fear," he said. "Send a small scout fleet. Observe these humans. Learn about them." And so the first Imperial ships were sent to Earth. The fleet entered the solar system quietly, using stealth drives. They scanned the human world from a distance. What they saw surprised them. Humans had built thousands of cities. Their machines filled the sky, the sea, and even orbited their planet. Their history was short compared to the Empire's, yet their progress was incredibly fast. They had gone from using fire to exploring space in only a few thousand years. The alien commander, Captain Threx, recorded his thoughts. "They are clever and fearless. They fight each other often, yet somehow survive every war. Their world is filled with both beauty and chaos. I sensed something unusual about them. But then the fleet disappeared. All contact was lost. Only one small probe returned after many days. It was badly damaged, its memory almost destroyed. The only clear thing it carried was a short recording. The Emperor himself ordered it to be played. Static filled the chamber, and then a broken voice came through. Captain Threx's last words. "We tried to land. They saw us. They attacked, not with weapons but with their own machines. They are not afraid. They fight everything, even the impossible." Then the signal ended. The council members looked at each other in disbelief. "They fought you?" one of them asked. "How could they even know you were there?" No one had an answer. The Emperor sat in silence. Finally, he said, "Perhaps the Eldari were right. But I must understand. Send another expedition, this time larger, and do not hide. Let them see who we are." Months later, a grand Imperial fleet arrived near Earth's moon. This time, there was no hiding. The ships appeared openly, shining like silver suns. Their arrival was seen by every telescope and satellite on Earth. Within minutes, all human governments went into emergency mode. Fighter jets took off. Communication networks buzzed. The people of Earth looked to the skies and saw something they had only imagined in stories. Visitors from the stars. The fleet's leader, Captain Aris, opened a broadcast on all human frequencies. His voice was calm and formal. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We are the Galactic Empire. We wish to speak with your leaders." There was silence for a few moments. Then a human voice replied. It was strong and confident. "This is the United Earth Council. We welcome communication. You may transmit your message." Aris was surprised. The humans did not sound afraid. In fact, they spoke perfect galactic standard, the common language of the stars. "How do you know our language?" Aris asked, curious. The human answered, "We have been listening." That answer unsettled the entire bridge. It meant that humans had intercepted alien signals long before first contact. They had been learning quietly, preparing for this very moment. The meeting between the Empire and the humans was arranged through digital exchange first. When alien diplomats received human data packets, they were shocked by the level of intelligence behind them. The humans asked sharp questions about physics, technology, and history. They did not beg or fear. They analyzed. One alien scientist whispered to another, "They do not behave like a young race. It's as if they've faced endless challenges already." In the Imperial Council, opinions were divided. Some leaders were excited, saying humans would become great allies. Their creativity and courage could strengthen the Empire. Others, however, felt uneasy. One general said, "Their curiosity feels dangerous. They want to understand everything, even the things that should not be understood." The Emperor listened carefully but gave no command yet. He wanted to see what kind of beings humans truly were. To learn more, he sent a special envoy named Lyra, one of the most skilled diplomats of the Empire, to visit Earth in person. Lyra was known for her wisdom and calm nature. If anyone could understand the humans, it was her. Lyra's ship landed outside a large human city. Crowds gathered to watch, but there was no chaos. The humans stood together, organized and silent. Soldiers protected the area, but their eyes were not filled with fear. They were focused and steady. When Lyra stepped out of her ship, a group of human officials walked forward. Their leader, a man named Daniel Ross, extended his hand. "This is how we greet," he said with a small smile. Lyra hesitated for a moment, then shook his hand. The gesture felt strange but respectful. During the meeting, she noticed how humans paid attention to every word, every detail. They were fast learners, asking deep questions about space travel, galactic laws, and even the Empire's internal politics. "You are not like other species we've met," Lyra said honestly. Daniel smiled. "We've had to learn quickly. Our world hasn't been easy." As they talked, she realized something important. Humans had faced war, disease, famine, and disasters countless times. Yet they always survived. They never stopped improving. Every hardship only made them stronger. That night, Lyra wrote in her report, "Humans are not dangerous because they hate. They are dangerous because they refuse to surrender. Their willpower is unlike anything in the galaxy." When Lyra's report reached the Emperor, he read it slowly. The words made him thoughtful. He called his advisors again. "The humans are not what we expected," he said. "They may not be powerful now, but one day they could surpass us." One of the generals frowned. "Then we should keep them under control," he suggested. But another advisor, wiser and older, shook his head. "You cannot control a storm. You can only respect it." The Emperor looked out the great window of the council chamber, watching the stars. "Perhaps," he said softly, "the Eldari were right to fear them. But fear is not the answer. Understanding is." Yet, deep in his heart, even he wondered, what would happen if one day these humans decided they no longer wanted to be part of any empire? The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if warning him. The humans had entered the galaxy's stage, and nothing would ever be the same again. Captain Eris stood on the bridge of his ship, the Eternal Dawn, staring at the blue planet below. Earth looked calm and bright from orbit, but he knew there was something deeper behind that beauty. The humans were not like any race he had met before. They were sharp, unpredictable, and strangely fearless. The Emperor's command was clear. Continue peaceful contact, observe them closely, and report everything. But Eris had a feeling that peace with humans would not be simple. They were not ruled by fear. They were ruled by curiosity, pride, and something far stronger: willpower. The Galactic Empire's fleet stayed in Earth's orbit for several days. During this time, humans communicated regularly through official channels. They shared data about their planet and asked about the Empire's history and purpose. The humans were polite, but their questions were always focused and direct. They wanted to know how the Empire ruled so many worlds, how it maintained peace, and how it treated the species under its control. One human scientist even asked, "Do your subjects have the freedom to choose their own leaders?" The question made many Imperial diplomats uncomfortable. No one had ever asked that before, not like that. The Empire worked on order, not choice, but the humans didn't seem impressed by that system. Instead of showing fear or admiration, Humans seemed to study the Empire like scientists observing a strange creature. Ambassador Lyra, who had met them in person, sent another report to the Emperor. They ask questions that no one dares to ask. They think deeply before speaking, and when they look at you, you feel as if they are seeing more than what is visible. The Emperor replied simply, "Continue observing. They may be the key to our future, or the reason for our fall." While diplomacy continued, humans invited the Empire's scientists to visit their orbital station called Horizon 1. The Empire agreed, sending a team of alien researchers, including Captain Eris himself. When Eris arrived, he was greeted by a group of human engineers and soldiers. The humans looked different from the Empire's species, taller than most, their eyes sharp and full of emotion. They smiled often, but Eris could sense that behind those smiles was calculation. Dr. Maya Trent, the human chief engineer, led the tour. "We built this station ourselves," she said proudly. "It may look small compared to your ships, but it's strong enough to survive a direct meteor strike." Eris examined the station's walls. They were made of human alloys designed for durability and flexibility. Impressive, he thought. He noticed how humans used creativity in everything. Every machine, every tool seemed designed not only to work but to adapt. "What do you think of us, Captain?" Maya asked suddenly. Eris hesitated. "You are different. Your kind learns quickly." Maya laughed softly. "We had to. Our world doesn't forgive weakness." Her words stayed in his mind for the rest of the visit. That evening, while resting in his cabin aboard Eternal Dawn, Eris reviewed his observations. Humans had a strange balance of kindness and danger. They could smile while building machines that could destroy mountains. They spoke of peace but carried weapons everywhere. One of his officers, a reptilian alien named Jorak, entered the cabin. "Captain," he said, "I do not trust these humans. They look soft but they hide sharpness." Eris nodded slowly. "You are right. They hide strength behind their calm faces. It is not their weapons that should concern us, it is their minds." Jorak's eyes widened. "Do you think they could challenge the Empire one day?" Eris didn't answer immediately. He looked out at the blue planet shining below. "If they wanted to," he said quietly, "they could." On Earth, human leaders also held secret meetings. The United Earth Council debated the future. Some wanted peace and alliance. "The Empire is powerful," one official said. "If we work with them, we can reach the stars faster." But others disagreed. "They call themselves rulers of the galaxy," said Daniel Ross, the same man who met Lyra. "Empires don't make friends, they make subjects." The council was divided. No one wanted war, but no one wanted to kneel either. Humanity had a history filled with struggle. They had fought wars, survived disasters, and rebuilt stronger each time. To them, freedom was not just a word, it was part of their identity. After long discussion, the council decided they would continue peaceful contact, but they would not allow any foreign control or interference in Earth's affairs. The message was simple. We welcome friendship, not command. In the following months, trade began between Earth and the Empire. Alien materials flowed to human factories, and human inventions amazed alien traders. The Empire had never seen such creative designs. Machines built from simple parts that could work in multiple ways. Ships repaired with minimal tools, and weapons that combined elegance with power. Humans were learning faster than anyone had expected. They studied alien technology, improved it, and even found ways to make it simpler and stronger. A famous imperial scientist, Dr. Kelleron, spoke in a council meeting. "They do not just copy, they innovate. Their minds think in ways ours do not. We teach them one thing and they create 10 new ideas from it." Some council members were amazed. Others were worried. One general said, "If they can improve our weapons, they can also use them against us." The Emperor listened in silence. He knew that if humans ever turned hostile, they would be a force beyond control. Still, he wanted peace. He sent a message to Earth himself, praising their intelligence and offering deeper cooperation. The humans replied respectfully, but their words carried a subtle warning. "We thank you, but we grow best when we stand on our own." The Emperor could feel the quiet pride behind that line. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, not everyone was pleased. Some alien species under the Empire began to whisper among themselves. They admired the humans' courage. They saw a race that refused to bow before the Empire, and wondered if they could do the same. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's rule began to shake, not from war, but from inspiration. One minor world even rebelled, raising human flags and shouting, "We will not be slaves." It was a small rebellion, quickly crushed. But the message spread across the stars. The humans had not even fought, yet their existence was already changing the galaxy. Captain Aris returned to the Imperial capital for a personal report. The Emperor welcomed him with interest. "You have seen them closely," he said. "Tell me, Captain, what are they truly like?" Aris took a deep breath. "They are unlike any species we have ever known. Their strength is not in their machines, but in their hearts. They are unstoppable." The Emperor frowned slightly. "Unstoppable? They are still confined to one planet." "Yes," Aris agreed, "but they won't stay there for long. They dream too big to remain small. Their eyes are already on the stars, and when they reach them, nothing will stop them." The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Finally, he said softly, "Perhaps the Eldari's warning was not a myth after all." Back on Earth, humans continued to explore their own solar system. Their ships were faster now, their technology stronger, and their confidence unshaken. They built new colonies on Mars and stations beyond Jupiter, but deep inside their leaders' minds a silent thought remained. The Empire will not always be a friend. They knew the history of empires. Every one of them, sooner or later, demanded obedience. Humanity had obeyed no one in their entire history, and they had no intention of starting now. Daniel Ross stood on the balcony of the United Earth Council building, looking up at the night sky. The stars shone bright, and among them, he could still see the faint glow of Imperial ships orbiting Earth. He whispered quietly, "They think they can watch us and control us, but they don't understand. We were born in struggle. We survive everything." Beside him, Dr. Maya Trent said, "Do you think they'll leave us alone?" Daniel smiled faintly. "No, one day they'll test us. And when that day comes, they'll finally understand why the others tried to warn them." The wind carried his words into the night, across the dark sky filled with stars and silent watchers from beyond. Years passed since the Empire and humanity first made contact. At first, everything seemed peaceful. Trade grew, technology was shared, and both sides pretended to trust each other. But deep inside, both humans and the Empire were preparing for something else, a test of power. The humans had built new colonies beyond Mars. The biggest one was called New Dawn, on a small world near the edge of the solar system. It was a proud example of what humans could do. The colony's cities glowed bright in the dark space filled with life, laughter, and ambition. The Empire had allowed this expansion, but quietly, many of its leaders were growing nervous. The humans were growing too fast. In only a few decades, they had learned what took other species centuries to master. Their ships were smaller but faster. Their weapons were simpler but more efficient. The Emperor called a secret meeting in his Golden Hall. The room was filled with alien generals and advisors. One of the generals said, "Your Majesty, the humans are advancing beyond what is safe. They are independent, unpredictable, and their influence spreads quickly. If we do not limit them now, they might one day challenge us." Another council member disagreed. "They are valuable allies. We must guide them, not fight them." The Emperor raised his hand to silence them. His voice was calm but serious. "We will not fight them, but we will remind them who leads this galaxy." A quiet plan was made that night, a plan that would change history. Weeks later, an Imperial fleet arrived near the human colony of New Dawn. Officially, it was only there to collect resource taxes for the Empire, something that all allied worlds had to pay, but the humans refused. A message was sent to the Imperial commander from the colony's governor, Admiral Clara Hayes. It was short and firm. "We are not subjects. We are partners. We will not pay tribute to anyone." The Imperial fleet commander, Admiral Voran, was furious. "Partners?" he repeated. "They speak as if they are equals." He ordered a blockade around the planet to encourage cooperation. No ships were allowed to leave or enter. Supplies began to run short inside the colony. At first, the humans tried to negotiate, but Voran refused to listen. "You will obey the Empire," he declared, "or face the consequences." When the message reached Earth, the United Earth Council held an emergency meeting. Tension filled the room. Daniel Ross, now older but still strong in voice, said firmly, "If we bow now, we'll bow forever." Dr. Maya Trent added, "We can't outgun them, but we can outthink them. That's what we've always done." And so humanity prepared not for surrender but for resistance. In the dark of space, human engineers worked day and night. They created secret defense systems hidden inside mining stations. Civilian ships were turned into mobile fortresses. Communication satellites were modified to scramble Imperial sensors. Admiral Clara Hayes led her people with steady confidence. "We don't need to be stronger," she told her officers. "We only need to be smarter." Then, one quiet night, a small Imperial patrol ship tried to land near New Dawn without permission. It never returned. When Admiral Voren demanded an explanation, Clara sent a calm reply. "You entered our space without consent. We defended ourselves." That single message was enough to light the spark. The Empire declared martial control over the entire human region. Fleets were mobilized, and the Emperor gave one command: bring them back into line, peacefully if possible. But peace was already broken. Captain Aris, now a respected officer in the Imperial Navy, received orders to lead a task force to observe and support Admiral Voren's fleet. Aris had met humans before. He had seen their spirit. He knew what was coming. When he arrived, he found Voren furious and impatient. "These creatures don't understand power," Voren said, pacing the bridge. "They'll learn fear soon enough," Aris frowned. "Admiral, with respect, you underestimate them. They are not like others. Every challenge makes them stronger." Voren laughed coldly. "Stronger? Against us? Don't be foolish." Aris said no more, but deep inside, he knew Voren's arrogance would bring disaster. Days later, the Empire's fleet began its first demonstration. They fired warning shots near the human colony, bright flashes of energy meant to scare, not destroy. But instead of silence, they got a response. From the planet's surface, small human ships launched into space, fast, agile, and almost invisible to scanners. They moved in strange patterns, confusing the Empire's targeting systems. Within minutes, 2 Imperial ships were disabled. The humans didn't try to destroy them. They only disabled their engines and sent a single message: leave our skies. Admiral Voren was furious. "Attack them! Destroy everything!" Captain Aris tried to stop him. "No, Admiral. This will only make things worse." But Voren ignored him. The Empire's fleet opened fire. Beams of energy tore through the dark space. Human ships darted between the blasts, returning fire with precision. It was chaos, yet somehow the humans held their ground. They fought like they had done it 1,000 times before. Every move was planned, every trap perfectly timed. They used asteroids for cover, created false radar signals, and lured Imperial ships into their own minefields. When the dust cleared, half the Imperial fleet was damaged, and the rest retreated. The first battle between humans and the Empire was over, and the humans had won. News spread across the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time in centuries, the Empire had been defeated by a single small colony, from a race that had only recently reached the stars. Some worlds cheered quietly in secret. Others trembled, knowing what would come next. The Emperor listened to the reports with a heavy heart. He didn't want this war, but pride and politics left him with no choice. "If we show weakness now," one of his generals said, "the whole galaxy will rise against us." So the Emperor gave his next command: prepare for war. But he also whispered privately to Captain Aris, "Try to understand them." "I need to know what drives these humans." Aris nodded. "I will, Majesty. But I already suspect the answer. It's something no empire can conquer." On Earth, the victory at New Dawn became a symbol of unity. For the first time in history, all human nations worked as one. Engineers, soldiers, and scientists shared knowledge without borders. They called this new alliance the Terran Accord, a name that meant all humanity together. Factories across Earth and Mars worked non-stop. New ships were built, stronger and faster than before. They didn't have the size or power of Imperial vessels, but they had human design: creative, unpredictable, and effective. Daniel Ross stood before the council and said, "We never wanted war, but if the Empire insists on treating us as slaves, we will remind them what it means to fight for freedom." His words echoed across every colony, every city, every human heart. Meanwhile, the Eldari, The ancient species who had once warned the Empire watched from afar. Their wise leader, known as the Seer of Time, spoke softly to her followers. "It has begun. The fire we feared will now burn across the stars." One of her students asked, "Can the Empire stop them?" The Seer closed her eyes and said, "No. The humans will not stop until the lesson is complete." In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. The Empire gathered massive fleets, and humans built hidden defenses. Skirmishes erupted across the border worlds. Every time the Empire thought they had crushed the humans adapted, rebuilt, and came back stronger. Captain Eris, watching all this, wrote in his private log, "They learn faster than we can destroy. They fight smarter than we can plan. It is not their weapons, it is their hearts. They simply do not know how to give up." And he wondered, not with fear but with quiet respect, whether the Empire's age of power was already ending, because somewhere out there, a single spark had turned into a flame, and the fire was called humanity. The war between humans and the Galactic Empire had begun in the outer colonies, but it was about to reach its true test. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing the full force of an empire that had ruled the stars for millennia. Yet for the first time in history, the Empire faced a species that refused to surrender. Admiral Clara Hayes stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, orbiting Earth. Her eyes scanned the displays, showing the Imperial fleet massing near the outer planets. Thousands of ships moved in formation, their weapons glowing like distant suns. The Empire had brought everything they had: warships, battle cruisers, and hundreds of smaller fighters. Clara turned to her officers. "We don't have their numbers, but we have their weaknesses. Every Imperial ship is predictable. Every tactic has been used before. We will fight differently. We will fight smarter." Her officers nodded. The humans had learned one truth that the Empire could not break. Humans never gave up. Every setback became a lesson. Every loss made them stronger. On Earth, engineers and scientists worked tirelessly. Dr. Maya Trent supervised the construction of new orbital defenses, satellite arrays, and rapid response ships. She walked among young engineers, all full of energy and focus. "Every weapon must be precise," she said. "Every maneuver must be calculated. But remember, our greatest weapon is our unpredictability. The Empire expects patterns. We create new ones." A young engineer asked nervously, "Do you think we can actually stop them?" Maya smiled. "We don't stop them. We survive. And survival makes us unstoppable." In the first clash, the Empire attempted to blockade Earth again. They thought humans would surrender when faced with overwhelming power. But instead, the humans turned their small defense fleet into a living trap. Asteroids, debris, and hidden mines were used to confuse the enemy. Human ships struck fast, disabling engines, jamming communications, and slipping back into the shadows. The Imperial generals were shocked. Captain Eris, who had seen humans before, could only shake his head in admiration. "They fight not because they want to destroy us," he said quietly, "but because they refuse to bow." Across the galaxy, news of the humans' resistance spread quickly. Minor worlds under the Empire began to cheer secretly, hoping that if humans could stand, maybe they could too. The legend of humanity began to grow. The Empire escalated. Massive warships approached Earth. Their plan was to strike a decisive blow, destroy human defenses, and force submission. But the humans were ready. The battle began near the orbit of Mars. Human fighters darted like swarms of fireflies, confusing Imperial targeting systems. Their ships were smaller but highly maneuverable, striking critical systems and disappearing before the Empire could retaliate. Admiral Clara's flagship led a bold maneuver. "Divide and confuse," she shouted. "Use everything we have. Protect the civilians at all costs." Her tactics were unorthodox. Human fighters used gravitational pulls of moons and planets to gain speed. They created false radar signals to mislead the Empire. Small drones swarmed large ships, sabotaging engines and communications. Imperial commanders, used to overwhelming power, were stunned. How could a species so small fight with such precision, intelligence, and courage? On Earth, civilians watched the news with a mixture of fear and pride. Despite the danger, humanity remained united. Schools, factories, and communication centers operated continuously, sending supplies and information to the front lines. Daniel Ross addressed the people of Earth, broadcast across the globe. We do not fight for conquest. We fight for our homes, our families, and our freedom. Every planet, every star, every victory begins with the will to survive. We will not bow. Across cities and colonies, humans cheered. Their determination was contagious. Even in the darkest hours, they refused despair. Meanwhile, the Empire tried new strategies. They sent fleets with advanced weapons more powerful than anything humans had seen. But each attack was countered in unexpected ways. Human engineers adapted alien technology quickly, converting Imperial designs into defensive systems and new ship models. Captain Eris watched from his bridge. They learn faster than we can destroy, he whispered. Every attack teaches them something new. Every retreat strengthens them. This is unlike any species I have encountered. A young officer looked worried. Captain, do you think they can win? Eris didn't answer immediately. He gazed at the blue planet shining below. They are not trying to win in the way we think, he said. They are surviving, and that is already victory. The Empire decided to attack Earth directly. Thousands of ships approached the planet, their weapons primed to devastate cities and military bases. The humans had expected this. The first strike began over the Pacific Ocean. Massive energy beams swept toward human defense satellites, but human ships intercepted them with precision. Satellites themselves acted as traps, detonating in patterns that disabled enemy weapons. Civilian ships were mobilized, each converted into fast, small combat vessels. Farmers, engineers, and pilots all volunteered to defend Earth. Every person became part of the fight. Even with heavy losses, humanity's strategy worked. The Empire's fleet could not achieve its goal. Imperial officers called for retreat, but it was too late. Humans had already turned the battlefield into their own design. They forced Imperial ships into dangerous zones, using planetary gravity and unexpected maneuvers to gain the advantage. In one dramatic moment, Admiral Clara led a strike team toward the heart of the Imperial fleet. Her flagship darted between massive cruisers, avoiding fire and striking at critical systems. Her squadron disabled engines and shields, forcing the Empire to withdraw in confusion. Captain Eris watched the engagement in awe. They are not afraid, he said softly. Even when facing destruction, they move forward. They fight because they must, and that makes them unstoppable. Imperial generals were outraged. How can this be? They are just a planet, a young species. How do they defy everything we are? Eris could only shake his head. It is not their technology, he said. It is their spirit. The battle raged for days. Every attack by the Empire was countered by clever human tactics. Mines, decoys, and rapid ship maneuvers made every fleet move a dangerous gamble. Finally, after a massive engagement near the asteroid belt, the Empire's fleet retreated. Half their ships were disabled or destroyed. It was a defeat they had not experienced in centuries. Back on Earth, humanity celebrated. Not with arrogance, but with pride in survival. Every city lit its lights in victory, and people cheered for those who fought in space, on colonies, and on planetary defenses. Daniel Ross addressed the people once again. We did not bow. We did not surrender. We stood together, and that is our strength. Remember this moment. This is what it means to be human. Across the galaxy, the story of Earth's victory spread quickly. Hidden species who had long feared the Empire now whispered about humanity. Even the Eldari, watching from afar, spoke with quiet amazement. The Seer of Time said, "It has begun. The humans are not just survivors. They are teachers. One day every star will learn what it means to face a species that never gives up." Her students nodded. They understood that humans were changing the balance of the galaxy. It was not weapons alone, but determination, intelligence, and courage that made them a force unlike any other. Captain Eris returned to the Imperial capital to report the events. He entered the Emperor's chamber, his face solemn. "The humans have survived every test we have set," he said. "They fight smarter than we can anticipate. Every loss teaches them. Every retreat strengthens them. They are unstoppable." The Emperor's face was grave. "I feared this," he said quietly. "We were warned. But even now I see the truth. Their danger is not in their ships or weapons, it is in their will, their spirit. That is something no empire can control." Eris nodded. "They do not seek war. They seek survival. But if threatened, they will do what is necessary. That is all it takes to defeat even the greatest fleet." The first stage of the uprising had ended. Humanity had survived against overwhelming odds. The Empire had learned a painful lesson. Humans were not just a young species. They were a force that could not be contained. On Earth, children looked up at the stars with wonder. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. Soldiers trained with discipline. Every human knew that the Empire would return stronger, and that humanity had to be ready. Yet for the first time, humans felt no fear. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had won not through sheer numbers, but through ingenuity, courage, and unity. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. "The humans fight like no one else," said one alien trader. "They survive when others would fall. Perhaps they are not just dangerous. Perhaps they are the future." And so the humans prepared for the next stage of the conflict, not with doubt, but with confidence. The war with the Empire had only begun. But already humanity's legend was written in the stars. The war with the Galactic Empire had reached its turning point. Humanity had survived against impossible odds, outsmarting fleets, defending colonies, and inspiring hope across the galaxy. Now the final stage was at hand. The Empire, humiliated but determined, was preparing a massive assault. It was meant to crush Earth and all its allies. But humanity was ready. Admiral Clara Hayes stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, orbiting Earth. Thousands of ships from the Terran Accord were arrayed behind her. Fast fighters, heavily armored frigates, and enormous transport vessels filled with supplies. Unlike the Empire's fleet, humanity's ships were smaller, but they were agile, smart, and coordinated. Clara turned to her officers. "The Empire believes strength alone will win. They do not know how to face us when we fight as one. Remember, every ship, every crew, every human matters. Stay sharp, stay clever, and trust your instincts. We will survive and we will prevail." Her officers nodded. They knew the stakes. This was more than a battle for survival. It was a battle for humanity's future in the galaxy. The Imperial fleet arrived in orbit above Earth, a glittering armada of warships, massive cruisers, and orbital weapons platforms. Admiral Voran, still seething from past defeats, commanded with a brutal efficiency. "Crush them. Destroy their defenses. Make them beg for mercy." Captain Aris, now watching the battle from a nearby observation ship, shook his head. "Voran doesn't understand," he said softly. "It is not weapons that make them dangerous. It is their will. They never give up." And Aris was right. The first wave of Imperial attacks struck with devastating force. Massive energy beams and missile barrages lit up the skies above Earth. Cities braced for impact, and orbital defenses shook under the onslaught. Yet humanity did not panic. Every strike had been anticipated. Human engineers had redesigned satellites to act as traps, drawing enemy fire away from key targets. Civilian ships had been converted into rapid response units, able to intercept attacks and carry supplies to the front lines. Human fighters darted between massive Imperial cruisers, their movements unpredictable and precise. They attacked in patterns the Empire had never seen. Missiles exploded near enemy engines, disabling shields. Mines hidden in asteroid belts disabled entire squadrons. The humans were everywhere at once, yet nowhere to be caught. On the ground, Earth's population worked tirelessly to support the fleet. Factories, laboratories, and training centers ran 24 hours a day. Scientists shared discoveries freely, creating stronger weapons and faster ships. Engineers repaired damaged vessels in record time. Every citizen played a role. Daniel Ross stood at the United Earth Council, speaking to leaders from across the solar system. "We fight not to dominate, but to survive. Every planet, every colony, every human is part of this fight. If we stand together, nothing can defeat us. Remember this and pass it on." The message was simple, but powerful. Unity and determination were humanity's true strength. The battle escalated. Imperial fleets launched multiple waves, trying to overwhelm human defenses. But each attack was countered in unexpected ways. Human ships used gravity to gain speed, creating attacks the Empire could not anticipate. Small drones infiltrated larger ships, sabotaging engines and weapons. Captain Aris watched from his observation post, stunned by the humans' ingenuity. "They are learning faster than we can destroy," he said. "Every battle teaches them something new. They do not fear death. They adapt, they survive, and they fight again." A young officer asked, "Do you think the Empire can win?" Aris shook his head. "No, this is not about winning. This is about spirit, and the human spirit cannot be broken. In a daring maneuver, Admiral Clara Hayes led a strike team deep into the heart of the Imperial fleet. Human ships weaved between massive cruisers, dodging fire and striking critical systems. Their attacks were coordinated perfectly. They disabled engines, jammed communications, and forced Imperial ships into dangerous zones where mines and debris waited. It was a dance of precision, courage, and ingenuity. For the first time in history, the Empire's massive fleet was at the mercy of a smaller, younger species. And they had no answer. After days of relentless fighting, the Imperial fleet began to retreat. Ships limped back to their bases, engines damaged, shields failing. The Emperor's plans for total conquest had failed. Back on Earth, humanity celebrated, not with arrogance but with pride and gratitude. They had survived, they had won, and they had done so together. Daniel Ross addressed the citizens once more. We did not bow. We did not surrender. We survived against impossible odds. This is the power of humanity. Remember this. The galaxy now knows our spirit. Across colonies, every human felt the pride in that moment. The impossible had been achieved. The Eldari, the ancient species who had once warned the Empire, watched silently from afar. Their leader, the Seer of Time, spoke to her followers. They have survived what no one thought possible. They fight not because they hate, but because they refuse to surrender. They are a force unlike any the galaxy has seen. Her students nodded, understanding that humans were not only survivors, they were a new standard for every species. Their courage, intelligence, and determination would forever change the balance of the galaxy. With the Empire retreating, humans did not seek revenge. Instead, they helped repair worlds affected by the war. They rebuilt cities, repaired damaged ships, and restored trade routes. They offered aid to species who had suffered under the Empire, earning respect across the stars. They called this era the Age of Humans, not because they ruled, but because the galaxy had learned to respect them. The old races who once hid from the Empire stepped forward. One of them, a tall and ancient being, visited Earth personally. We warned the Empire about you, it said to Daniel Ross. We said humans are dangerous. Daniel smiled gently. We are, he replied, but only to those who try to chain us. We do not seek war. We seek freedom, and we will defend it. From that moment, humanity became a legend. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter over Earth, as if acknowledging the strength and resilience of a single planet that refused to bow. Every human knew one truth. They were dangerous not because of weapons, but because of their spirit. Where others saw despair, they saw opportunity. Where others surrendered, they adapted. Where others fled, humans stood firm, and in that courage they became unstoppable. Captain Eris, watching Earth from the stars, finally understood. The Empire was right to fear them, he whispered, but not for the reasons they thought. Their danger is not in their fleets or technology. It is in their hearts, their minds, and their will. Nothing can stop them once they choose their path. Across the galaxy, whispers spread. The humans fight like no one else. They survive, they adapt, and they never give up. Beware the spirit of a human. The age of humans had begun. No longer just a single planet, humanity now stood as a beacon of determination, ingenuity, and hope. Every star system learned to respect them. Every species learned from them. And every empire learned that courage and will could not be ignored. For humans, the galaxy was not just a place to survive, it was a place to thrive. And nothing, not even the oldest empires, could change that. The blue planet continued to shine in the darkness of space, small but proud. From it came ships, scientists, explorers, and leaders who carried the human spirit to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Where others had failed, humans had succeeded. Where others had been defeated, humans had risen. And where others had feared, humans had stood with unwavering strength. The legend of humanity would echo through the stars forever.